to the third day of the seminars. We have done reading on Monday, and then we did writing yesterday. I think everyone was excited about yesterday's session. And today we are all doing speaking. And for speaking, we are doing part 1 right now. I think the session will be a very short session because I don't think we can go up to 4 because I'm just doing part 1, and then we'll do part 2 at 5 and then part 3 at 8. Okay, um, just for you all to know, right, there is a formula for speaking too, but it's an easier one compared to writing. Okay, so let me just change this. Okay, all right. So feel free to ask questions when you want to find out anything or get more information, right? And just always participate actively because it will be more beneficial for everyone here. All right. So just for a revision, okay, how the 1119 paper 3 would be. Hold on. Okay, so you should know by now that you are going into the exam as a pair. That means you're going in with a friend, or it might not be your friend, but your classmate or your schoolmate. Okay, it all depends who your school has partnered you with. That one is up to the school. It is not up to anyone else. Okay, so if you know who your partner is, you can prepare early with your partner, right? Practice with one another by looking at sample questions and then try out. Okay, and it's 13 minutes. Even though it is the shortest paper, 1193, but it is the most tiring after the end of your exam. The 13 minutes is the most tiring compared to the other 3 papers. Hi, Gladys. Right, so because you're going to use a lot of your brain cells and your mental capacity for you to be alert in 13 minutes, all right, and do your best. So even though it's the shortest, it's one of the papers that give you the most anxiety. I'm sure of that. All right. Now you have 2 types of items when you do your speaking. It's either limited response, meaning the question is so short that you do not have much to go on, and you also have open response, especially part 3, where the answers or things that you can say is actually unlimited. All right, and then you have 3 parts. The first part is an interview. Second part is individual long-term based on prompts, because prompts are given to you. And part 3, discussion. Out of these 3 parts, I think the one that causes a lot of worry from all of you, it will be part 3, which we will address tonight at 8 o'clock. Okay? All right. I'm sure you already know the arrangement of the speaking test examination room. You know that you have an interlocutor who is sitting opposite of you, pair A and pair B, and usually it is the teacher from your own school. The reason is because we want to lessen your anxiety when you see a familiar face that will be the one administrating the test. Because if it's someone else, then your anxiety level will go even higher. So to reduce that, you are getting the teacher from your school. Hi, who's that? Rokan, is it? Rokan or Rakan? All right, Rokan. Okay, so you would then should feel more comfortable. If I were you, just focus on the interlocutor. Hi, Izzat. If you are the interlocutor, if I were you, I will just focus on the interlocutor since it's your own teacher. Please do not bother so much on the assessor. All right, because the assessor would be teachers from your neighboring school. So you don't have to look at the assessor, but you need to acknowledge the assessor when you enter the room. Please make sure when you enter, be courteous, be polite, right? Don't forget that you have 18 marks from the assessor and only 6 marks from your interlocutor. So be courteous, meaning when you come in, say good morning, teachers with an S, all right, to acknowledge both. And when you leave the room, acknowledge both and say thank you, teachers. This is being courteous, and we are Asians. We have that value, all right. So practice that value. Show that your school, especially to the assessor, that you come from a good school who taught you all this, and it actually helps a lot when the assessor sees that, okay, oh, students from this school are kind, are courteous, are respectful, okay? So just do that because they are your examiners and they're giving you marks, all right? So after you have said good morning, if it's your morning session, if you are sidang satu, sidang dua will be morning. If you are sidang tiga, the third one will be good afternoon. So be alert of also the timing. All right, and for those first two group, in Sidang 1 and Sidang 2, please be patient because you will be quarantined until 2. All right, so hopefully your school or whatever arrangement has been made so that you get your break at 10 and your lunch before they let you off at 2. All right, so bring you are not supposed to bring materials in, but I think your school will prepare materials in your quarantine room. You have to be mentally prepared that you will be quarantined. That is my advice because many students, I know all of you how you are without your mobile phone, without all your normal gadgets, you get stressed and you get anxious because you don't get to do your normal things. Therefore, you need to be mentally prepared that you will not be able to do anything until 2 o'clock, especially those who goes in since 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, so that is also something that you need to be ready. All right, and don't forget the pengawas or invigilators that taking care of your quarantine room are also not teachers from your own school. So show your best behavior even though you are stressful, like being confined. Okay, try to do something. Maybe your teacher will prepare materials that are, your maths or science or whatever. Do them, all right, and then eat when food is given. All that will help you reduce your anxiety while waiting for to leave the room. Okay, I have to say this even though it's nothing to do with the exam, that the 13 minutes, because it does affect the assessor and interlocutor when the quarantine room students are not in a good state of mind. Because the invigilator will say the students are restless, they are being noisy, and so on. So it does affect the assessor and interlocutor. So remember that, all right? Okay. So now we're going to look at interview. I got any questions that you want to ask before I go to part one? Any queries, any worries besides how to answer, which we will discuss. If there is none, I will just continue. All right. Okay, the purpose of this interview, you have two phases. It's actually just to make you feel comfortable. Actually, that's all. The first part, all right, that has two phases is just to make you feel comfortable because we already know. Hi, Alif. Alif is from Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan. BSB is what? Bandar? Bandar? I don't know what Bandar. Bandar Sri? Bandar? What? I don't know. Okay, you have to let me know. I don't know all the short forms of all the school. Hi, Alif. Right. So I want all of you to remember part one. You basically to get you comfortable because when you come in, your heart beats very fast as you enter the room to see two examiners there. All right. So just relax. Right, basically they will ask your name. Now the reason they ask your name, even though maybe the interlocutor knows who you are, is so that the assessor knows who you are. Assessor doesn't know who you are, they need to know your name so that the correct marks are given to the correct person. Especially if two persons come with the same name, Alif Ali and Alif Anwar, just because I see there. Just say one person's name is Alif Ali, one person's name is Alif Anwar. They need to know who is Alif Ali and Alif Anwar. Oh, hi. Hi, Amsha. All right. You okay? Saujana. That's my school. All right. It's not my school. Saujana Utama. Okay, which is in Sungai Buloh, right? Okay, hi. Amsha, welcome. I'm sure I met you, right? Few weeks back. Okay, so what you need to do is the interlocutor will ask you questions like, what is your name? And then you give your name. My name is Ali. And what is your name? For candidate B, my name is Hassan. Right. So the assessor know which one is Ali and which one is Hassan. All right. And then they will continue with asking like um, general question they'll ask you, such as where do you live? All right. Please don't give smart ass answer. Okay. Like I live on earth. All right. I live in a house. Please be serious and say I live, all right, at Taman or at whatever. Name a proper place, even though the place might not be a real place, just name I live in Taman Mega, because nobody's going to find out where Taman Mega is. All right, questions like that. And how do you come to school? Hi Putri. Oh, from Sungai Buaya. All right, welcome. Also BSB is Bandar Sungai Buaya. All right. Okay, hi Balkis. All right, so um how do you come to school? Very easy, but most of you can't even say it properly. I come to school by bus. I walk to school. If you come by car, you can say my parents sent me to school. All right, because some parents they send by motorbike, some by car. All right. Varsha, you're from Saujana Utama. Okay, okay. I cannot remember your names because when I give courses, seminars, I don't personally ask name. Yes, they can ask. Like, usually they won't change much because this phase is just to make you feel comfortable. Where do you live? How you come to school? All right. What's your favorite subject? Oh, you're from Pandan Jaya. Hi, Sankar. Okay, Sankari. All right. Hi, Sankari. Okay. I know teachers from Pandan Jaya. Okay. So now the questions, even if they change fees, it wouldn't be too difficult, right? It will be very simple. Where do you live? How do you come to school? What are the questions? How many siblings do you have? These are questions they can ask. Or where are you from? Okay, very simple questions. How many siblings do you have? I have 3 siblings. All right, where are you from? Okay, I am from Selangor, or I am from KL, but I come to school in Selangor. Okay, simple things that you can actually answer, because when I look at these questions, it is basically for primary school level, right? You ask the young children in primary school, where do you live, how you come to school. These are basically that level of questions. So it is just to make you feel comfortable. Remember that. Okay, so don't stress up. Don't need to worry about, oh, how I'm going to answer these questions sophisticatedly or to show my language. No, just relax, answer simple first. Later, you can show how your language, how much you know to use the English language in part 2 and part 3. So don't worry too much, okay? All right. And then in phase 2, phase 1 is very, very short. You come in, what is your name? You introduce yourself. Each of you, pair A and pair B, partner A, candidate A and candidate B, you already introduced. And then they will ask, where do you live? Okay, how you come to school? Or they say, how many siblings do you have? Where are you from? Basically, that simple question. Then they'll go into phase 2, which they will say like, now I'm going to ask you about what? Okay, the questions that will be asked to you will be either one or more depending on your explanation. If you just give one word answer, then you might get more questions. But if you explain your question, your answers, then you might only get one, right? I would prefer you only get one question, then you get more. Okay, so you just speak until the examiner um, tells you to stop. All right, so it depends on your explanation. Hi, a lot of people from Sungai Buaya. Hi, Iliana, Amira. Okay, daily routines. They ask you things like, okay, now we're going to ask you some questions on your daily routines. So the question will be like, what do you usually do when you wake up? That's the famous question, right? Or what do you usually do after you get home from school? What do you usually do on the weekends? This would be daily routine. School life, questions about your school life. What's your favorite subject? Who is your favorite teacher? Okay. Hi, Amira. Welcome. Okay, they can ask you about family life. All right, how many siblings do you have? Okay, or what does your family weekend activity would be like? All right, like hobbies, favorite pastime. Okay. Hi, some guy. They can even ask you about ambition, like what do you want? What is your future plans after your SPM, for example? So you talk about your ambition, okay? So I'm just going to give you some type of question. If daily routines, what are examples of questions on daily routines they can say? It's okay, Ideal. You can always watch the replay, right? Okay. So there are a lot of people here. Thank you for coming. So what are examples of daily routines the people can ask? These are the type of questions. What do you normally do after you wake up? Now the one in blue or italized is actually a backup prompt for the interlocutor. This is what happened in the script. The interlocutor has a script that the interlocutor has to adhere to. All right. Hi, Amir. Okay. So when you uh, ask the interlocutor to repeat, they either will repeat the same question or they will use the backup prompt. The backup prompt is this, like, what is the first thing you do every day? If you still don't understand, there's nothing the interlocutor can do. They will only repeat what is in the script. So don't get upset with your school teacher, say, oh, cikgu tak tolong. The teacher cannot help you when it is not written in the script. Okay, interlocutors are basically just parrots. They are parroting, meaning they are just reading from the script. All right. Hi, Madam Hema. Oh, hi. Okay, from Sungai Buaya. Welcome, welcome. All right. I don't know what's SMKKJ. Okay. Now, what is the first thing you do? So, how do you want to answer that? I'll show you what you can do. The next question they can ask is, what do you usually do after coming back from school? Or what do you do when you get back home from school every day? Most of you like to just give a simple answer, like, usually I have my lunch after I get back to school. That is insufficient. You need to say more, like, I'll show you what, I'll give you examples later, but you can expand the answer. Like, I usually get home by 2:30 because my school is over at 2, and I'll reach home at 2:30, and the first thing I'll do is definitely I will take my lunch after putting my school bag and change my clothes. So I have my lunch, and after my lunch, immediately after that, I would start going through the homework that I have to do. I'm just giving an example. These are things you can do. You can say, "Wow, hi Gerson, you are from Sarawak, but your school is in Selangor." Okay, Gerson. Okay, that's nice. Okay, then you have another question. How do you spend your leisure time? The thing is this, some of you don't understand what is leisure time. What sentences are you talking about, Ideal? Is the sentences need more detail or no? The sentences or the question, Ideal? Now, how do you spend your leisure time? If you say, teacher, I don't know what's leisure time, this is when the interlocutor will read the one in blue. What do you do when you have free time? That's what it means. All right, then you say, during my free time, I have 3 activities that I love to do. first type of activity I like to do is play video games on my mobile phone. All right, I usually like to play Mobile Legends. All right, and if I get bored, another kind of activity I like to do during my free time would be to read uh, horror novels, because horror novels are my favorite because I like to read, how all these gruesome murders are being committed. Yeah. Yes, Uma Devi, leisure times mean free time, correct? Or hobbies. What are your hobbies? All right. And then you can say, and finally, if I'm bored with reading horror novels and playing video games or mobile games, I would then prefer to go and play football with my group of friends. So these are things you can say and make it longer until the interlocutor say, oh my God, so long. Thank you. When the interlocutor say thank you, meaning you have spoken a lot, enough, stop. I don't want to hear anymore. All right, because this part, phase 2, will be about 2 to 3 minutes for both of you, meaning each of you will get about a minute, right? But when we do, I don't know about teachers, other teachers, but when I do it in my own school, I found that many of the Form 5 students tend to, what do you usually, how do you spend your leisure time? I play football, and that's all. And I'm like, please speak more. Okay, please say some more because this is phase 2. So explain more, all right? Then what do you do on weekends? Another word that most of you do not know are weekends, and you like, don't say don't ever say say, I beg your pardon, can you please repeat? So what do you do on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday? So it depends on the interlocutor. What do you do on Friday? Or what do you do on Saturday? Friday is not a weekend, but that's the sample given. What do you do on Saturday? And then you explain what you do on Saturday. All right. Okay, ideal, you're talking about idea. Yes, try to give ideas, because this question, if you notice that what I ask here, daily routines, are questions that it is about your own life. Do you realize what do you normally do? Everything about what you do. It is nothing about anyone else but yourself, right? So again, when it's about yourself, it's very personal to you. So you should be able to express what you do during your time, after school, before school, your leisure time, your weekends. These are things I'm sure you know what you want to talk about. Tell us about your hobby. It is the same thing with leisure time, but tell us about your hobby. My hobby. If you have 2 hobbies, then say, oh, I have 2 hobbies. Because I think many of you nowadays, your generation, I don't think you have one specific hobby. I think some of you like 2 or 3 things at the same time, and you change what you like to do. Very seldom I hear students only like to do one thing now. Like my time, like for me, my hobby was always reading novels. Okay, nothing else to do because we don't have mobile phones at that time. Television only starts like 6 in the evening, or later as I grew older, it started at 12 in the afternoon or 3 in the afternoon. So we had no 24 hours TV, we had no mobile phone. So our hobby is like we had only one type of hobby. But for your generation, there are a lot of things that you have. So you might have more than one hobby. Okay. All right. I'm sure you're wondering, just like my children, how did you live at that time? I'll let you all know I lived happily at that time. Very happy compared to now. All right. Okay. Another one they can ask, we will talk about school life. So what kind of questions on school life can they ask you? These are, what clubs or societies do you join in school? All right. So are you a member of any club or society in school? So say what society or club that you join in school. This is something to do with your extracurricular activity. So just say now, if you do not have any clubs that you join and you don't like it, then just make up. You know, when you are doing speaking, no one is checking the facts and asking, cikgu betul ke dia ni persatuan ni? No, nobody's checking. All right. So if you like certain society and you are a member and you're not a member, but because it's an exam, you think that you have more to say during that. If you mention that particular club, go ahead, just mention, I'm a member of this club, and there are many things I do in the club. I do this, explain. All right. And then, what do you like about your school? You are free to say, there's nothing I like about my school, because you have the freedom. No one is going to get angry with you or upset with you if you like to say there is something you don't like about school. Okay, because we are not trying to be a moral police and making that you must love school. We want to hear how you express yourself. All right. Okay, so you can say that I don't really enjoy school because there are too much homework. I wish school had more activities such as what? And this would, help us do what? Blah, blah, blah. You can just say what you think in a polite manner, right? Because if you don't understand, say, teacher, what you mean by like my school? Do you like going to school? No, why not? Explain, all right? Okay, but most of you are very kind. When you get this type of questions, I know you will all say, I love going to school because I get to meet all my friends. Okay, that's what you usually will say. Now, which games do you like the most? About school life also. Okay, or what games do you play in school? Right? Okay, another one, have you joined any school trips recently? Okay, or do you enjoy going on school trips, or why? Right, so your interlocutor, if they know who you are, basically they'll be able to choose suitable questions to ask you. If you have your school teacher who may not know you very well, they still know what kind of questions to ask you because they know the environment of the school. Okay, all right, then are some samples. There are more they can ask you. I just gave you two topics, either daily routines or school life. They can ask about family also if they want. All right, I don't know, but what I want you to remember, please stay calm, relax, because it's only part one. Part one to warm you up, get your gear starting, like starting a car, right? If you got a car, if you have seen your parents drive a car, usually when they start the engine in the morning, they would not straight away drive. They have to heat up the engine. So it's the same thing. All right, we want to get you prepared before you go into part two, make you feel comfortable, then only we will start part two. Now, how do you prepare? What is the strategies to respond or to reply well? Even though there are people, or there are, I don't know, anyone, if anyone, tuition teacher or your own school teacher said that, oh, don't worry about part one. My advice is preparation starts from part one. Then you can grow in part two and part three. Okay, don't ignore part one. So part one, to reply or respond well, I have a formula that is known as LaAR, L-A-R. It's also an animal, but I have a small a, extra small a there for a reason. Okay, the spelling is only LAR. If you are on your laptop or on your mobile phone, you can actually find out what is a LAR. If you don't want to find out, I'll show you what is LAR later. Okay, all right. So what is the first thing you need to do is always listen carefully. When you are in the exam situation, environment, sometimes your mind does not focus, because you're like, oh, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? There are a lot of things going in your brain. So calm your brain down. All right. Listen carefully. In case they ask you a question, right? What do you usually do after you come back from school and you maybe had a lapse of maybe thinking about, can I do well in the exam? And then, oh, I didn't hear the question. Ask. That is the small a. All right, ask the questions to be repeated if needed. There is no harm asking, teacher, I beg your pardon, please repeat the question. You can ask that and the interlocutor will repeat. Please do not say, the teacher asked you, right? You didn't hear, don't do that. Ask, all right? Or don't say, Uh, repeat. No. Be polite. Okay, I beg your pardon. Please repeat. Or you can just say, please repeat the question. The interlocutor will be happy to repeat it for you. All right. But if you listen carefully, you know the question, then you need to answer the question. And when you answer the question, always remember, give reasons for your answer. Like just now I say, I come back from school, it will already be 2:30. So because it's already 2:30, I need to take my lunch. All right. And I'm very lucky my lunch is prepared by my mother. You just give extra information, elaborate on it. Okay, no harm. Nobody's going to say, oh, wrong. You should only give this specific answer. No, it is a speaking test. Just like if you meet a friend, just remember this: a speaking test is a situation similar to like you meet a friend and your friend will say, hey, what time you always go home? You won't just answer to your friend, oh, I go home at 2 and just keep quiet, right? You say, yeah, I go home at 2, after that I will do this. Then, I'm sure you say that. So that's exactly what happens when you do a speaking test. Just speak, all right? I'll give you an example. This is an example. Listen, because you cannot read. I'm showing you here the sentence, but you will not be able to read. So what do you usually do after coming back from school? Then if you say, teacher, please repeat the question. Then the teacher might say, what do you do when you get home from school every day? Now maybe the teacher thinks that you didn't understand the question. So this one, if you notice, this one, the line is broken because you only do this if necessary. If not, you go here straight away. All right. If you ask because you didn't hear, then you also go back to the same place after you listened to the question answer. Usually, after coming back from school, I would take my lunch. You can also add, like I said just now, usually after coming back from school, it's already 2:30, and therefore I would take my lunch and then give a response like I've here. When I reach home, it's already 2:30 and I'll be very hungry. All right, I need to take my lunch so that I get back my energy, then I'll be able to focus on doing my homework and revision. Okay, these are things you can say. You give a reason. You want to elaborate more, elaborate, because it is the job of the interlocutor to say thank you. And if just say after you spoke and then the interlocutor didn't say anything, you say, okay, that's it, or that's all I have. And then the interlocutor will say thank you to you. All right. Okay, so this is an example of how you can do what you can say for your first part. Okay, any questions? Any question? See, sudah reflection. Any question that you want to ask regarding the first part? Nobody wants to ask questions because I think part one is quite simple and I think everyone will be able to say something. All right, thank you, Carrie. Okay, Hasni. Hasni, yes. Just like, okay. Yes, exactly correct. It is just to warm up. Exactly. Yes. We just want everyone to feel comfortable. Okay? So just make sure you feel comfortable and say what you want to say in a polite manner. Okay, what is the question? Is it allowed to ask what does the question mean during interview? Okay, JJXTG, you can ask that question, but like I said, the interlocutor has a script. So if you say that what does the question mean? For example, I give this example. If you say, what do you usually do after coming back from school? And then you don't understand and you say, teacher, what does the question mean? Then the teacher will read the one that is italicized. What do you do when you get home from school every day? Teacher, I still don't understand. The teacher will just repeat this because the teacher or the interlocutor cannot use their own words or their own sentences. Is that clear? You cannot blame the teacher or the interlocutor, and you cannot be upset with them, because that is the rule of the examination that the examiner must adhere to. If not, the exam becomes invalid if the interlocutor at any time change the word or make it easier for you. All right. Okay, I hope that uh, I've answered JJXTG's question. All right. Yes, Gerson, it is for warm up. Okay, what is this? If you ask, they'll change the question. Yes, maybe in part one, there are several questions. They might either change the question, okay, but they would not be changing it all the time if you keep on saying that what is the meaning of this question, because especially part two, you cannot ask for a change. All right. So part one is just warming up. There is several questions. They might ask you another question, yes, but not necessarily. Okay. It all depends on the interlocutor. All right. This is everybody's so scared. Will our mark get deducted if we ask question? What kind of questions, Yaya? If you are asking your examiner, can you please, may please repeat the question? I beg your pardon. No, no marks will be deducted. All right. It's just that how many times are you going to ask them to repeat the question? That will be something you need to think about. That's why I said listen carefully, right? If you ask questions like, I don't understand the word, no marks will be deducted, but we know your vocabulary is not strong. Get what I mean, Yaya? When you don't understand simple words like leisure, you don't understand simple words like weekends, we already know your vocabulary is weak. Okay? Asking question would not deduct your marks, but it gives us information about your vocabulary. Where is this? Hi, Emma. Lima, you're also from Saujana Utama. Can we ask a request to redo? Some guy, what do you mean by redo? Okay. I don't understand, so you need to give me more explanation. You mean redo the test? Nisa is asking, what happens if I misspoke? For example, I go to school by bus. Is English or Malay sounds the same, right? Does it sound different, bus and bus? Okay, if you misspoke a word and you correct it later, good. Just say, for example, you pronounce the word wrongly and you realize, oh, I mentioned this word wrongly, you re-pronounce the word, good. That shows that you can do self-correction. Okay, when you can do self-correction, that means you are alert about your own errors. You are showing the examiner, I know I've done a mistake and I'm correcting it on the spot. Okay, Nisa? Because even me, even I'm giving you live here on YouTube, I'm also self-correcting many times because that's human. When we speak, we do self-correction because we are alert of our mistakes. All right. I hope I answered your question, Nisa. There are 3-4 compound that doesn't have any marks, right? What do you mean by marks here, Shafrok? They focus on communication. Yes, I did. We are looking at communication speaking skill, correct? Oh, human. Okay, human. Listen to me. Part 1, part 2, please don't help your partner. It's not your job to help your partner. Your partner has to answer the question asked or directed to him or her by the interlocutor, and it is not your job to help your partner at that time. The only time you may want to help is part 3. All right, part 3, because you are discussing together, that's where you can maybe your friend while they are discussing with you, right? In part 3, and then suddenly, what is that word? And then you help with that word, that is fine. But in part 1 and part 2, the interlocutor is speaking specifically to you as individuals, please don't say anything to your friend, okay? Because the interlocutor might look at you and say, shh, shh means don't say anything, okay? All right, no marks will be deducted, no marks will be added. It depends on how you perform. Just take care of yourself. And then part three, yes, that's when you need to negotiate, help each other, yeah, if you want to. All right, okay. No adding of marks for helping your friends. Should we say anything if we need some time to think, or just quietly think about it? Roll skate. Usually for part one, I don't think you need a lot of time to think, right? Because it's asking you about things you usually do. So I don't think you need to think. The time to think for you will be given for part two and part three. Okay. All right. So some guys say, like, if we make mistakes while speaking, are we allowed to ask to redo the whole thing? No, you are not allowed to. Some guy. What happens if, just say you make a mistake while speaking, you self-correct it. You will say, oh, sorry, I'm mistaken. This is what I'm trying to say, and then restate it and say it again. You cannot do the whole thing again. All right. Okay. Hi Iman, such as what is your name? There's no marks for that question, right? Oh, okay. Sure, Shafro, yeah, there are no marks, but you still need to speak, right? Okay, don't worry about marks. Speak first. Part one, just speak, because from there, I'm going to let you know. All English teachers are either assessors or interlocutors, especially if they are teaching from 4, from 5. Please speak, because just by opening your mouth from part one, we already know how much language you have just by listening to you talking. That gives us an idea. An idea. We have not given you marks yet, but it gives us an idea of whether you understand, whether you got good vocabulary, whether you got good sentence structure. That gives us a lot of information. All right. So yeah, intro has no marks, but please still have to perform. All right, you're welcome, some guy. Any more questions? Many of you children, I call children now, you're all, the moment there is no marks, you all think, no need to bother. You need to bother, right? Like I say, it is the build up to part two and part three. So be in the moment for part one, do your best before we go to part two. Okay? All right? Any more questions that you all want to ask? I know a lot of questions for speaking, even though it's only 13 minutes. If there aren't any, we will stop here. All right, I'll see you at 5 for part two. So come with more questions for part two, if you have any, so that I can help you figure out how you can best perform in part two. All right, okay, so that's all from me. Oh wait, got question, sorry. I saw a question. Teacher, can we use idioms and proverbs? Yeah, you can. If you use it correctly, fine. Go ahead, use idioms and proverbs if you want. No problem. Okay, but it is not a must. If some of you say, I don't know any idioms and proverbs, no worries. Please don't worry. It's okay. If you know some that is relevant to what you are talking, use. If you can't find any relevant one, don't simply use, and then suddenly we listen and say, oh, it's used wrongly, which is worse. Okay? Teacher, what will happen if we start talking and suddenly stop because we have no idea to talk? You mean for part one, don't ask me questions about part two or part three yet. Because part one, if you just stop, then you just tell the teacher or the interlocutor, and that's all I have to say. Fine. Okay, and then if it's too short, the interlocutor will ask you a second question. So don't worry about it. But if you get to talk a lot, they'll ask you only one question. If you talk a little bit, they'll only ask you about 2 or 3 questions depending on the instruction in the interlocutor booklet. All right, so the interlocutor will read and know what she or he needs to do. Okay, all right. So if you know idea for part 1, I'm only talking about part 1. I am not talking about part 2 yet. So part 1, just say, teacher, that's all. Thank you, can say that, and then that's it. All right? Okay. So I'll see you all later at 5. Will that be fine? Okay. So, oh, sorry, I didn't show you what's a LaAR. This is a LaAR. Okay. LaAR has a white face. So this is a LaAR. So listen, ask, answer, give reason, and then you have not met the E, which I will explain later. What is the E for part 2 and part 3? All right. Okay. So that is a LaAR. Everybody saw what is a LaAR. Okay. So cikgu, please train yourself to answer in a proper way. My name is, yes, correct. That is why, like Cikgu Hazmi has said, I always say, show good impression, speak well, even in part 1. All right, even if you are told no marks are given and whatever, do well. It's a build up to part 2 and part 3. Always be courteous, always be polite. All right. Your marks are in the hand of the assessor and interlocutor. So always show politeness. Right? We are all human, so we want to be shown respect also. All right. So that's all. Take care. I will see you in the next one when I come back at 5 o'clock. Right? So go do your prayers, go and have your tea. Okay? And meet you again. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm leaving now.